Okay, so before I get into this, I just want to clarify with y'all, you know what? Forget about Tears of the Kingdom. Forget about the Dead Space remake. Forget about any games that are coming up. Forget about Fire Emblem. Forget about Octopath 2. Forget about Advance Wars Remaster. Forget about anything. Forget about literally anything. Pikmin 4 will be the video game of the year. Mark my words. Mark it on your calendars. Right now, July 21st, 2023 is the day the world will be changed forever. Forever. That's until in a month or two when they announce that they're going to delay the game. But in all seriousness, yeah, as a Pikmin fan, you know what? I've come to terms with the fact that this game isn't coming out in July. If it is, it would be a legitimate miracle. But every single Pikmin game since the dawn of time, minus Hey Pikmin, oddly enough, I think, has been delayed following its announcement and release date announcement. Usually that's because Miyamoto has his hands in the cookie jar and really wants to make sure that it's his perfect vision. I remember when Pikmin 3 was coming out, and the E3 footage they showed off on the year of its announcement was radically different from everything that we got in Pikmin 3 the following year after it was delayed, because it was supposed to be a launch title for the Wii U. It ended up being delayed until like the next spring. It looks like a lot of those ideas that maybe Miyamoto wanted to work on with Pikmin 3 are now being implemented and put into Pikmin 4, along with so many other things I want to talk about. Like, they're bringing back the dungeons from Pikmin 2. It looks like there's a mixture of different objectives in the story mode, 4 playable characters. You get a dog. You get a dog! This is truly going to be the greatest video game known to man. But in all seriousness, let's just start and discuss about what we saw in this trailer. Now, what I love about trailers for a lot of these games that are coming out, you know, Pikmin 4 is coming out in a few months, but that Nintendo likes to do with these trailers, like they've been doing it with like the Zelda trailers, they've been doing it with Xenoblade, and it's been something that they've been doing for a few years now with a lot of the marketing and the newer games that have come out for the Switch, is that they show us a lot in the trailer to kind of tease us and give us context behind things for people who really want to look into the inner mechanics and kind of like, you know, theory crafting without overtly telling us or spoiling a lot of what's going on in the game. I think there will be a Pikmin 4 dedicated direct at some point in the summer, probably in June. This trailer is perfect. It's masterfully done, just like the first Xenoblade 3 trailer was masterfully done, where you can really pick up on a lot of what the game is going to do and what it's trying to do, just by looking at the 3-minute footage, the gameplay footage. They don't even have to tell us about the context behind the world or the characters. We could pick up on that naturally, and I that's something I've just loved about Nintendo's trailers lately. So okay, now that we're done sucking off Nintendo's trailers, based on the cover art, I want to pull that up first. It looks like all of the Pikmin types are returning, and considering they're all on the front cover, they're probably going to be in the base game, which is actually kind of surprising considering Pikmin 3 only had the rock and flying Pikmin along with the, you know, starting 3, and then the purple and white Pikmin were delegated purely to DLC or, you know, just extra areas in Pikmin 3 that, you know, they weren't really used and utilized at all as in puzzles or in mechanics in the full game. So hopefully we see white and purples and flying and rock Pikmin all implemented in the full game. It might be a little confusing to have all those different types, but I think also with the inclusion of the dog now, it's going to probably make puzzle solving a lot more fluid and simple when you can literally just carry all the Pikmin on the dog's back and, you know, go through water and stuff. But okay, yeah, so I want to start with the less obvious stuff, things that you might pick up on just by looking at context clues of the trailer, because a lot of the obvious things, you know, like throwing ice Pikmin in water to freeze the water, or the fact that, you know, the ice Pikmin can freeze enemies and, you know, kind of do a status effect similar to how, you know, when white Pikmin were eaten in Pikmin 2, they deal poison damage to them, stuff like that, right? It definitely is very apparent just by looking at the trailer. But subtle context things, right? I think maybe I'm incorrect on this, but we're only seeing this one area, right? And this area seems huge. It seems gigantic. And to me, that reads that this might be the first like open world, open area Pikmin game. And if that's the case, I'm all for it. Like if they give you this huge, and I mean like huge sandbox area to explore that has like interconnected biomes or something, it looks like to just be a park pretty much, like a public park is where you're at. That would definitely be really cool because we've only seen this one area and it's filled with a bunch of different like unique landmarks and stuff, like there's a park bench and a gate and just different things thrown around there. And to me that's that's something I've wanted Pikmin to do for a while, because it just seems a little archaic to have the level design of like here's area 1, 2, 3, 4 and then going off the checklist with that, and instead just giving us this huge interconnected world where we could choose where we want to go depending on say you beat a boss in an overworld area, right? And then that boss's corpse is gone and the area is cleared out, and maybe you could choose to land there instead of landing in a different spot from before. So that's like that's something that I picked up on. I'm hoping that it's the case with the game, that they kind of interconnect the areas, make it a full open world kind of experience, So beyond that, I also want to get into the gameplay aspect of it. So it looks like Pikmin, obviously. It looks very much like a Pikmin game. But there are a couple things to note. So it looks like the goals have shifted from... It looks like a mixture of 1 and 2's goals in a way. So there are 2 different things you kind of see them collect throughout the trailer. The first is just a treasure, just a pair of binoculars, pretty much. They drop it off of the ship and it says treasure received. And then the dog can also sniff out castaways. The dog can find castaways. So castaways, it looks like to me... you're not really crash landing on this planet, or you're not really here to farm them for treasure or resources primarily. It looks like there was a ship full of people from a planet who probably just made a wrong turn and it crash landed. And this is the cleanup crew. The 4 people who are in the game currently are your cleanup crew, who are coming here to come and rescue the certain amount of people who crash landed on that ship that you see in the area near the beginning of the trailer. That seems to be the goal of the game primarily, is to find and rescue these different castaways and get them back home or back onto the ship and then bring them home eventually. And that's a pretty cool goal. I like that. It's like finding multiple Olimars pretty much. And it makes more sense than repeating past goals of the Pikmin games. Functionally still the same thing. I'm sure there are some minor differences in how things are done, but I really dig the new kind of story aesthetic there. So on the subject of characters and goals, I don't know who these 4 people are, who these 4 motherfuckers are at all. We know the names of 2 of them. We know one of them's name is Colin. Colin seems to be the one with the gray hair and the red face and the goofy looking expression. And then we know the one Shepherd, who's the girl with the blonde hair and the bandana. And then there's this weird dude who looks like a blip bug from Pokemon. And then there's the player character who's like a, pink hair, kind of looks like Britney, but without the glasses. So based on just the dynamic of things, I can tell Shepherd is like the crew leader, is the best way to put it. I don't know what Colin does, but he kind of creeps me out through his just general demeanor. And I don't know about the 4th guy or your player character. But the weirder thing I want to mention is that we only see 1 playable character throughout this whole trailer. Now, does that mean you only get to play as 1 character in the game? Potentially. That would be a little weird. I don't know how that would translate comparatively to Pikmin's 1 through 3, where, you know, in 2 you had 2 captains, in 3 you had 3 captains. You figured in 4 you have 4 captains, and they show us the 4 captains here, but it is a little odd that you only get to really see one captain be played at any time. We don't see the user interface though, so keep that in mind. And the captain seems to have a small squad of Pikmin with them at all times. So potentially we could play as all 4, but it's just a little strange that there's only one that's shown as playable, right? And the rest are talking to you over like an intercom pretty much. But the next thing, and it's the most important thing of all, they're giving you a dog. I know it's truly a fantastic. The dog's name is Ochi. It is quite truly the best thing they could have done for Pikmin. So not only is it like pretty much a purple Pikmin in its strength in terms of lifting and carrying things, it can lift a 10-pound object. It looks to be pretty fast when it lifts it too. It's not as slow as a single, you know, purple Pikmin lifting an object like that. He's also used to solve puzzles. You can have him pretty much, you know, go through and traverse water with your Pikmin board. It looks like he can also do combat, and on top of doing combat and that, you can send him off to, you know, break certain obstructions that are in the way that the Pikmin can't break, I assume. And it's just, it's great. You could also ride on his back and go faster, which also adds to my theory initially that the game is going to be an open area, an open world, because like, what other reason would you need to ride on the back of a dog like a mount and go faster if not for bigger, more open-ended areas? Especially if you're going to have to, you know, traverse through like different terrain with the dog too. It would make sense to kind of like, you know, give you something that doesn't waste as much time going through areas. If the areas are going to be bigger, they're going to be interconnected, and it's all going to be one big open-ended, you know, space. I think that would be really, you know, a good idea to introduce a mount like that, and I think they kind of hit it on the head there. So that is the most important thing. He's a good boy, the best dog, truly man's best friend, and I'm very excited. I'm so pumped. I am so pumped, dude, to play this game right now. On top of that as well, you have, you know, the ability to traverse certain terrain. So like it looks like there is climbable walls, which is definitely interesting. First time I've, you know, seen that in a Pikmin game, you know, where the captain can climb walls like that and go up. Will definitely help solve certain puzzles and, you know, get through certain areas. And then there are a couple new enemies as well. So the first ones we see in the trailer are, it looks like baby versions of the Snagrets, and I'm assuming that's what they are. And then we also see this weird, like, anteater looking thing with like a tube for a mouth, and I don't know what that could be off the top of my head. It might just be a completely new species, but it could be like a baby version of the anteater bulborbs, like the big ones. That would be the closest thing I could think of, but that might also not be the case. So one of the things I do want to make note of though is that just based on the level design alone, you know, this big open area, it looks like there's a different camera angle to everything that's going on too. Like it's really more, you know, overhead than it's ever been, and over the shoulder, I should say, compared to, you know, the top down kind of camera angles that the Pikmin series has been known for a while, or the higher above the ground angles. You know, this seems to be more of a closer down to the bottom kind of camera angle. I'm wondering how the controls are going to fare, right? Because you're not going to have that same ease of use that you did with the motion controls, because the camera is going to be a little weird, you know, it's going to be a little wonky. Maybe with the Joy-Cons it'll be a bit simpler, but I could see them possibly streamlining the controls, making it so that you can auto lock on with Pikmin, and it's not as, you know, big of a struggle to do certain things and actions. They might simplify it, or they might keep it the same. They might give you options depending on what type of player you are, whether you're a seasoned Pikmin player and you know how to use the motion controls, or if you're a new player and you just want to dive into the game in an easier way. I could see it being a story, there's being like a story mode pretty much where you have access to auto locking with Pikmin on everything. So that is one thing. The other thing is with puzzle design too. So it looks like because of the open-ended area, I don't think we're gonna see a lot of like big puzzles that like Pikmin 3 had, for example. Like Pikmin 3's philosophy and design in its world was purely based on, okay, we have all of these different puzzles thrown out in areas that you solve once and then you're done with solving them, right? I think they're gonna kind of in a way like Mario Odyssey this game, or Breath of the Wild this game, where they turn these puzzles that were once linear problem solving ventures, where you have to throw Pikmin to pull a weight down, and then you can traverse one area, or you have to use one type of Pikmin to access one thing, and then another type of Pikmin to access another thing, and rinse and repeat. Like you have to use the yellow Pikmin to activate this electrical fence, and then the blue Pikmin to go grab a treasure under the water, or something like that. It's going to be more open-ended, and I think that's also shown by the fact that there are multiple ways to go about certain things. So like you can use the ice Pikmin, for example, to throw the ice Pikmin inside of a small pool of water and then walk across it with all your Pikmin. Or conversely, you could just ride on your dog and take your Pikmin on the dog's back. So it's like, I think they're going to create these micro puzzles throughout the world that give you various options depending on the resources you have to solve them. There's not going to be linear problem solving in this game. You're going to have open-ended design for puzzles. You're going to have open-ended design for solving and finding collectibles. And I think the world is going to be strewn with like small little puzzles, like pretty much Zelda shrines, like small dungeons, and small collectibles in the overworld to help you kind of, check mark off things you need to do and how you need to do them. That way, like while you have a main goal that you have to go to, say you have to go find a castaway in like an area that's, halfway across the map. Well, you're going to find a lot of distractions along the way when you find different treasures, when you come across a micro puzzle. Like there's one path you can go or another path you can go. Depending on which one you go down, you can solve different puzzles differently, find different rewards, stuff like that. I think that's probably how the design philosophy of this game is going to go. And I am so pumped for it, man. The second I saw the dungeons, which is something I want to bring up again, when I saw the dungeons, when you're with like that pregnant gigantic Empress Bulblax, and the it looks like a long legs, like a new type of long legs, and you're obviously underground, and it looks exactly like the Pikmin 2 dungeons, like the labyrinthine designs, and it took me back, man. It took me back to Pikmin 2. And I absolutely love that game. And there are so many people like me who love that game because of its randomly generated nature, right? Like Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 3, they are great games, don't get me wrong, and I love Pikmin 3. And there was a time where I forget if when I made my video, if I thought Pikmin 3 was better than 2. I might have said that because of some aspects of it, but my thoughts have changed throughout the years. And Pikmin 1 and 3, they're good games, they're fun games, but they're kind of hard to replay a lot of the time, unless you're like a speedrunner, right? Because like those games are like, you solve the puzzles once, and you know how to solve them, and then it's like, okay, there's no reason for me to play this again. But with Pikmin 2, having those randomly generated caves, having all that like different type of exploration element, and all the lore behind the characters and the world and the items you pick up, and kind of just giving you this wealth of replayability just by, being able to go through caves and having them be completely different every time you go through them, right? Like this design-wise. Every single time you replay that game, it keeps it fresh, it keeps it feeling new, and it keeps it feeling exciting. And that is something I am super down for if that's going to be the philosophy behind Pikmin 4. It's funny too because Miyamoto has gone on record saying that he does not really like Pikmin 2 compared to the other games, and he thinks that it was kind of like a step in the wrong direction for the series because like he wanted it done a certain way. So this is kind of making me wonder, like, is he more hands off with this? Or maybe he, like many of us who are fans of Pikmin 2, you know, who have modded the game and done like different challenges, like maybe Miyamoto kind of found the brilliance in that. Maybe he found the brilliance in that randomly generated dungeon experience, and he kind of wanted to bring it back. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe he's just not as involved, but it's Pikmin, so I think Miyamoto's probably very involved. But with all that said, right, with all of that said, I have to wonder what else is going to be in store for this game, what else they're going to show us, and how it is going to play out. I think I've touched on pretty much everything I wanted to touch on with this. Oh, okay, yeah, the one thing I did want to touch on is at the very end of the trailer, you see like a shot at the nighttime, and you see like Bulborb's eyes turning like a reddish orange-ish color, and like he looks like he's roided out, he's about to start going at it. Now, my question is there going to be a separate game mode where you're able to explore the planet at night? Just a completely different game mode, like maybe a challenge run type mode, or you know, almost like a roguelike type thing where, you know, see how long you can survive at nighttime, and the goal shifts from find treasures to survive. Or maybe that's just going to be in the base game, right? Maybe it's going to be in the base game, and it's something that you, like, one day after you complete a goal, you're left behind on the planet's surface, and you're left behind with a couple Pikmin or something, and you have to, like, you know, try to stay alive as there are monsters running around chasing you throughout the map. Okay, hey guys, post-editing Zach here, just to clarify and add some context, because I've actually been looking at this trailer non-stop, and I picked up even more things that I didn't in my initial impressions and kind of analysis. So there are two things to note. So I think my theory about the one player thing might be a reality, because at the end of the trailer, if you take a quick second to notice, it is the one character, the Pikmin, and the dog that all go away at the end of the day and go back up into orbit. And the three other captains who are standing by the ship there, they all stay behind. And they stay behind during the nightfall. That's interesting. That, you know, there are three captains that would stay behind in nightfall. Perhaps they're also castaways, or perhaps they're staying on the planet just to look and see if any castaways, you know, come to the ship and need any assistance. That's my assumption too. But I think this also goes into the idea of nighttime gameplay. So perhaps at night is kind of like, you know, a harder mode where you play as three captains, and what would the goals be at nighttime then? Like what would change in the goals, right? So the one thing I did notice is during the nighttime footage, you see strewn about the ground all of these like little crystal things, right? In different spots. They're just kind of laying about everywhere. There's one, in fact, even right behind the Bulborb whose eyes turn red. So my question in that case is, are all of those crystals some sort of resource? Do you need them to create light, maybe? You know, to fend off the monsters from the ship at night? Or maybe it's food. Maybe they're food resources. You know, people need to survive off food. Maybe they're scavenging for food late at night. Those are the two things I could theoretically think, unless it's a completely different resource made up by the game's world that I don't know about. But that is where I'm leading with this now, after staring at that trailer for even longer. So yeah, back to the actual non-post commentary thing. Yeah, cool. That would be interesting. That would be pretty cool. Gives me Water Wraith vibes. I don't know if I like that entirely, but yeah, that's I guess that's the last part I wanted to bring up too. You know, I'm hoping, based on the official Nintendo website, it looks like this game is 2 players, so there's probably going to be a 2-player challenge mode still. So thanks for listening to me talk about it. I will probably do a video on the rest of the Nintendo Direct and the Xenoblade like the small little bit of information on Xenoblade 3, the expansion that they gave for the fourth wave, which looks like it has Shulk and Alvis. Y'all probably want to hear me talk about that, so I'll talk about that too. But yeah, thank you, and I will see you all in the next one.